got everything sorted out. Thank you for being patient with us.
All good. It's all good.
So it looks like we have Terrius Jenkins with you.
Yes.
Any updates or anything that we should know about him that's not in the recommendation?
No, everything is still current from when we submitted his release plan.
Okay. And I saw that he's taking medication. Is he like, what's his attitude toward it? Because I saw that you said that sometimes it makes him drowsy. Like, does he recognize the importance, or does he want to still try to play around with what medications work for him?
Actually, he's been, and the psychologist and I just visited regarding his, basically just his overall compliance with the medication. He still remains compliant. He understands that it's necessary and important. What we've done here is just, he recognizes that it makes him really drowsy in the morning, and he has a hard time with any appointments in the morning. So like whenever I meet with him, I schedule it for the afternoon.
Okay.
With his high set classes, they moved him to the afternoon class, and he does really well. And then you can see in his record, he just had a health services appointment not too long ago that, he ended up being late for, and he asked to meet with me. He was upset about getting a generic note about it, and it was a morning appointment. And so since then, he's worked with security director. He has an alarm clock. He was here for this interview at 8:30 this morning, if that tells you anything. So he's been ready. He's made his own adjustments, but he's been compliant with medication while he's been here.
Okay, thank you. That's really helpful.
Sure.
So is he gonna be like drowsier or out of it during this interview since it's early?
Just be prepared. He seemed pretty good but I just visited with him shortly this morning. So I would say be prepared, be aware.
Okay, that's
he usually
good to know.
Pretty well, but there's usually you can tell there's an edge there. Not that he's like behavioral edge, just that he's really trying hard.
Okay, no, that's good for us to keep in mind. If he pauses or takes time to answer questions, we know that background.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Jesse or James, any questions for Sherry?
I do not. I don't.
All right, then we're ready for him.
All right.
Thank you.
Here. Just so that you know, the camera is up on top of the TV, so if you're looking at the screen, it kind of looks like you're looking down. So if you can, when you're trying to talk to them or answer the questions, just try to remember to okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and your ID number for us?
Terrius Jenkins, 615-0311.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. My name is Meredith Lamberti, and here with me are Jesse Rincon and James Moses, and we're the 3-member panel of the Board of Parole who are going to be talking with you this morning. Before we get started, I want to go over a couple of things with you so you know what to expect out of today. The very first thing that's important for you to know is that this Zoom that we're on is considered a public forum. And what that means is that members of the public or the media, they can listen to your interview, but they can't participate in it. But because they can listen, it's important that you know we might discuss some personal and confidential information this morning. And that includes, but isn't limited to, things like your medical history, your mental health history, your treatment history, or other possible confidential information. So do you understand that we might talk about some of those things today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So how this is gonna go is that each of the three of us might have some questions for you, and we'll start with our questions first. And then once we're done asking those questions, that's when you'll have the opportunity to tell us anything else that you'd like for us to know or anything that you might have prepared for us today. And then once you've had a chance to make a statement, then the three of us are gonna go into our into our deliberation where we discuss what our decision's gonna be. And we'll do that here on the Zoom, so you'll be able to listen to that discussion as we're having it. And then once we reach a final decision, I'll turn back to you. I'll explain anything about it that might be confusing, and then that will end our interview for the day. Okay? Are you ready to get started? All right. Why don't you start by giving us just a brief but detailed explanation of the crime that led to you coming to prison and what was going on in your life at that time?
Let's see what started. The victim was my side chick, and she got mad and wanted to call the police on me and tell lies on me because I never swung at her, didn't do none of that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you speak up maybe just a little bit?
I said I never touched her. She lied to the police like I did.
Okay, so you're saying that this didn't happen?
Yes. That's what they charged me with, though.
All right. Did you make any threats toward her?
Probably that night I got arrested.
What?
The night I got arrested.
You did?
I was hot in front of the police, yeah. But I have no means of harming no one. I'm glad she's out of my life. Now I can go on and live my life with my wife and my stepson.
Okay. So, what is your relationship now with your wife?
Good. It's a good relationship.
It looks like your parole plan is to go live with your wife. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Has there ever been any arguments with your wife that have escalated to threats or violence?
There was, because the neighbors would call the police, but when I went to court, they just missed all of them.
Do you and your wife have any plans to go to like counseling together or anything like that?
Not right on hand, but if we need to go, we'll go.
When you'd have those fights in the past, were you taking your medications?
Off and on.
Off and on. What's the longest period of time you think that you've taken your medication consistently?
Since I've been in jail this time, and that's a year and 10 months.
And how are you feeling on your medications?
It keeps me calm and, calm, cool, and collected.
Do you think that you want to continue taking the medications that you're on?
Oh, yes, ma'am. When I go home, I plan on it.
Okay. So before, when you had been on and off your meds, what were some of the things that would make you decide to go off of them?
Anything that irritates me.
So what's your plan for, making sure you stay on your medications and you don't quit them on and off like you had before in the past?
My wife said she gonna make sure I take it.
What do you think are the most important things that you need in order to make sure that you're staying on the right track and staying out of trouble?
Just
What about things like, mental health treatment or substance abuse treatment? Are those things you want to do?
yes, ma'am.
What were the drugs or alcohol that you used, and like how long had you been using?
I've been using drugs since I was 15 years old. Off and on through the 15, since I was 15.
Okay. And during the periods that you weren't using drugs, what helped you to stay sober?
Me, cause like I would go 6 months not get high. I might not get high for a year. I'm just me myself. I've been there. I've done that, so I know how much my body can handle, and I just want to do it.
Okay. And then when you did relapse or you did start getting high again, what were some of the reasons why?
Stress.
Okay. What's your plan for managing your stress so you don't start using again?
Stay at home. Stay away from the people who get high, and just live my life with my wife.
It sounds like maybe your wife is a good influence for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I think those are all the questions I had to start with. I'm going to see if Jesse or James have any questions for you. Jesse?
I do. Good morning, Mr. Jenkins. I'm Jesse. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So you've been down since 2022, and you plan on going to your wife's, correct?
Yes, sir.
And what are your expectations in your relationship when you're released? What do you expect from your wife?
Just to be a constant reminder of telling letting me know you seem like you're falling off, you're backtracking, just stuff like that.
The reason I ask is, are you willing to listen to her when she's trying to help? Because after that much time passed, you guys are going to have to get to know each other. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So are you willing to take her advice as someone you trust without resistance?
Yes, sir.
All right. And so you also took active class, correct?
Yes, sir.
What did you learn in active that can help you in your relationship?
I learned it's a lot of people I know ready to just get high and do this and do that, and I ain't got to do that.
Okay.
I could just go on about my life.
Well, the reason I had to bring it back to class, because you said that when you were using drugs, you said that you use it when you were stressed out or whatever. And in active, it talks about when you're having these unwanted thoughts, feelings, and emotions or stress. That's what usually happens. What do you do in those times? So what have you figured out that you can do other than get high? What have you figured out works for you? Froze. It's froze.
No, I think he's just thinking.
Oh yeah, he's thinking
Did you
all right.
understand? Did
Crickets.
you understand that question?
Crickets.
Could you repeat it again?
Yeah.
Yeah, repeat it again.
Basically, when you're stressed out, what do you find that you can do now rather than get high to help you get through that stress?
Talk to my wife.
Talk to your wife. And what if your wife's not around? What else could you do?
Holler.
What'd you say, holler?
Collar.
Oh, call her. Okay, I got it. Is there anybody else that you can trust and talk to as well? Do you have a mentor or a sponsor or anything?
You better get enrolled in some NA.
Okay, good. And you have a good, close relationship with her?
I'm a mama's boy.
There's nothing wrong with that. Let's see. Do you still have a lot of active no contact orders, or are those from the past? Do you have active no contact orders?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have any problems staying away from those people you have no contact orders with?
No, sir.
Okay. And go ahead.
I refuse to go around people like her.
Okay. Good enough for me. Yeah, I have no more questions, and thank you for answering the ones I did have.
Thank you.
How you doing, Mr. Jenkins?
All right, how you?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. Are you a little bit nervous?
Somewhat.
Somewhat? Okay. You said you're a mama's boy, right?
Sure. Huh.
Sir.
All right. So tell me, what is some of your mom's favorite things about you?
My mama's favorite thing about me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a mama's boy, so you should know. Ooh, thank you. I'm hearing it. Ooh, what is it?
Crickets. She loves
Hey,
crickets.
oh my goodness, and he can laugh too. What's going on, Mr. Jenkins?
Mr. Jenkins didn't prepare.
Mama, she loves, like right now, how I'm cleaned out and clean, and, you know, not on no drugs right now. She loves talking to me. She's all she want to do is talk. So, so I listen to her, take her advice when I need to.
And when she's talking and saying those things that is relevant, what is it that she's saying that you know will be helpful for you?
We see she. Can you repeat the question again?
What are some of those things that your mom is saying to you that is helpful for you as you are trying to prepare to leave? What are some things she's sharing with you that you feel is helpful for you?
You've been on that drug so long, why don't you just stop? You've been 30-some years getting high, and now you still doing it. I ain't gonna be here too much longer. At least you can do is show me, Mama, I got somebody. You depend on me, so I let her depend on me. I pay her cell phone bill in here.
There you go. Okay. So just to kind of redirect, you had a relationship, we heard you say, and I quote, side chick. Did I hear you correctly when you said that?
Yes, sir.
Does that person have a name?
What is her name? Tammy.
Huh?
Tammy.
All right. Thank you. And with that being said, how long was that relationship with her?
About 6-7 months.
6-7 months?
Yeah.
Was that relationship along with your current wife?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so you and your wife was able to work through that situation?
She still don't know about it.
Okay. All right. So now that is helpful for us to kind of understand. Okay. So you said you were glad that that relationship is resolved and you have moved forward and know the ramifications, basically, if you were to engage in that. What were some things, though, that created that interest those 6 to 8 months that your wife did not know about?
What were some things?
Yeah. What were some things, kind of like something had to have been going on that you didn't necessarily enjoy, and it allowed you to pursue this relationship for a certain amount of time, correct?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to understand is that what are the things that maybe I'll do it this way. What are the things that you learned in active that will help you better in your relationship with your wife? I'll say it that way.
Hey, this guy, he always comes with some really good questions. Definitely not prepared for the board of paroles today.
Just all of it, you know. All the work that we did. I can't even think none of the.
Mm-hmm. Man, you should have brought a list. Good time to bring a list with yourself.
I want you to just hear this then. When my colleague Jesse was talking to you about a plan, and he asked you about, support, and you mentioned your wife and your mother, but you didn't talk about a plan with the mentor, someone else that you could confide or talk to, and it leaves, not enough support for when you're going through challenges such as your stress. Is that making some sense?
I'm not
That's
tracking
what I'm
here.
trying to say?
Nope. I'm lost.
Yes or no?
Yes.
So part of my position is trying to understand, are you open or would be open to a mentor or someone of support that can help you when you and your wife, or you're not able to communicate with your wife, or when you're not able to communicate with your mother? Is there some other possibilities that you would be interested in?
Mm-hmm. NA. Tell him that you got a plan to contact NA.
Anything to keep me out of trouble.
Man. Lucky this is in
I'll
California.
end it with this. My last question. What are some things you value today that you didn't value prior to being incarcerated or being put in prison?
Oh, that's a good one. I can't even think about something right now. Other than breathing.
It would be my freedom.
Freedom?
Mm-mm.
Anything else? That you value?
You got me stumped on this one.
That's important to you?
My grandkids.
Family?
Yes.
Okay.
She's
anything else jump out? Freedom? Family?
Come on, my dude.
That's it.
That's it. 2 things?
Okay. That concludes my question. Thank you.
I don't know.
All right. So, Mr. Jenkins, does your wife know now about the incident with Tammy, or does she not know at all?
What incident with Tammy?
She don't know at all.
Why does she think you're in prison?
Why does she think I'm in prison?
Yeah.
Oh, she knows.
No, I know she knows you're in prison, but why does she think you're there? Like, what does she think you did?
She knows what I did. She knows.
Oh, she knows now?
I don't hide nothing from her.
Okay, so she knows that you were with Tammy in the past.
What do you mean
Okay.
with Tammy?
And what's your intention now with having any contact with your victim?
I ain't got nothing to say to her.
Okay. Right. And how have you and your wife like been able to work out and strengthen your relationship to the point where it is now that you want to parole to her with that in your past?
We've been talking on the phone ever since I came to jail.
Okay.
Day one.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions for you. Any follow-ups?
I do not.
All right. So now, Mr. Jenkins, is your time to tell us anything else that you'd like for us to know or anything that you might have prepared for us today?
Oh, I ain't nothing else to tell.
Okay. So you sit back and listen, and we'll let you know what our decision is, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Jesse or James, what are your thoughts on the recommendation?
I'll go ahead and go. I was a little bit on the fence with the placement until he said that he and his wife talked about this. That would have been my biggest concern from prison to a problem. But if they've talked about it, I'll be okay with this. I think he needs to stay engaged with his mental health, and his compliance of medication will be very significant for him. So I am going to agree with the DOC recommendation. The codes I would be putting would be the PGD3, the 40A with substance abuse, mental health, med compliance, and I would suggest the 20B as well.
James, what are your thoughts?
Kind of how my colleague mentioned, this was kind of bumpy. I was personally wanting to hear a little more, but I guess enough was said, as my colleague alluded to, regarding Mr. Jenkins talking to his wife about some of the concerns that was raised. I too am hopeful that he pursues or continue to work with mental health. Substance abuse, I think, would be definitely very important, so that he is not self-medicating on his own, and that he is following the prescribed medication, so medication compliance. And also, just maybe get you all's thought on some more cognitive or relationship type of.
I don't know if that would be.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you already answered for me. So, I will agree with the DOC's recommendation, and the parole PG D3, the 40A for substance abuse, mental health, and medication compliance, and then the 50A.
All right. I am on the fence here because there's a lot
On the fence?
of history.
What?
But there's also the mental health component here, and now he's been on these meds for about 1.5 years. It sounds like doing really well with them, and having those conversations with his wife. Has his wife and his mom to turn to. He is getting older too, and he was able to complete active. And so I think the only way I'm okay with it is with the 20B, which you already said. So I have the 20B, 40A for substance abuse, mental health, medication, and then a 50A.
Yes.
Yeah, I missed the 20, but yes.
All right. All right. So, Mr. Jenkins, we are going to go ahead and grant your parole to your wife today.
Damn.
So what we were talking about is when you go out on parole, you'll have standard terms of parole that everybody has, and your PO will go over those with you. And then what we do is we have additional terms of parole that we place when we're granting a release, and that's what we were talking about. So the first one, those are the 40A, and those are things that we want you to do when you're out that'll help you to stay on the right path. The first thing is to get into some substance abuse treatment. The next thing is to get into some treatment for mental health. And the last thing is to continue to keep taking your meds and don't go off them by yourself. I know that you have some side effects with your medications. It doesn't mean that you're stuck with the ones you're on right now, but it does mean that if you want to make any changes that you need to work with a doctor and not do it just by yourself, okay? And work with your wife if she's going to help you remember to take those meds. That's really important, okay? The next one is a 50A, which means no drinking alcohol and no being places where alcohol is the primary activity. So no liquor stores, no bars, but you can go to restaurants where they serve food as long as you yourself are not drinking. And then the final one is a 20B, which is that your parole's not going to end early. You're going to stay on parole until 2027. And that's just because of the history that you have and because of the crime itself, that we are going to ask that you stay on paper the whole time. Do you have any questions for me about what any of that means?
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, thank you for your time today. Stay taking those meds. Stay on the right path, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all.
Thank
care.
you.
Good luck, Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Sherry.
That's-
Out of those three board members that are on there right now, the African American gentleman, he's the one. I think he asked the best questions out of the three of them. Next. And for any of you that are wondering, this is currently live. This is in real time. All the border parole hearings that are running right now are actually taking place right now. So here we are.
Hey, Chelsea.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good, how are you today?
Oh, I'm maintaining. Hey, we have Mr. Gaines
Yes.
up next. Is there any additional or any other information you want to share with us that was not submitted on the report?
No, there hasn't been anything new, and I think the recommendation covered everything.
Okay. And then we're okay with paroling, with the recommendation, paroling to brother
Rolling to his brother in Nebraska, yes.
in Nebraska. Okay. All right. Colleagues, any questions for Chelsea?
Has he tried to live with his brother before?
He has lived in Nebraska before.
Okay.
And I know the wife was over there at the time. I'll be honest, I know they had an apartment. I don't know necessarily if he's lived with the brother.
Okay. All right. And then do you know anything about like the stability of his relationship with his wife? Just wondering why the plans to brother and not wife.
So, wife was in Pilot Mound area at one point while he was in. She's recently just moved back to the Council Bluffs area. I'm not sure if she has her own place or if she's living with one of the kids, or kind of what her living situation is at the moment.
Okay.
But he didn't really want to be in Iowa.
Gotcha. Okay. I think that was really the only question I had.
Okay. Well, Chelsea, I think you can go ahead and bring Mr. Gaines in.
Okay. See the third. And then once you complete the interview, just not my name, not the lease.
There's John Gaines, number 0060726.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Gaines. This is the Iowa Board of Parole panel for you today. This is a matter of public forum for this interview. Members of the public and media can listen. However, they are unable to participate. During this interview, personal and confidential information may be discussed, including but not limited to your medical history, your mental health history, your treatment history, and other confidential information. Is that what you are to understand of this interview?
Yes.
All right. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes.
Okay. So how this is going to go is each one of my colleagues that are here, to my left, to your right is Meredith Lamberti, and to her left and to your right is Jesse Rincon. And what we're going to do is have some questions for you today, and we just ask you to answer them as best you can, but as brief as you can as well. And then from all of our questions and your answers, when we're finished and concluded, then I will turn it back over to you to see if you have any additional information that you would like to share with us that maybe didn't come out during the times of when you were asked questions. Then after you share that bit of information to us, then I will have you or encourage you to sit back and listen and not engage with us. But what we will do is go into what is called deliberation, where you'll get a chance to hear us communicate from the answers that you share with us. And then we're going to come up with a decision to determine what your outcome is going to be today. Then after that, I will come back to you and try to do my best to explain that transition or what the outcome was and what you'll be looking to hear. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So what I need from you is to give me a rundown of the time that led to you being incarcerated and also the opportunities that was provided where within those opportunities that didn't work and you came back and became incarcerated. So tell us give us, what was going on and what was happening to bring about what occurred.
Are you talking about my charges originally?
Correct.
Okay. My charges are from 1999. And at that time, I had been using meth for several years. And I'm sure you've heard the story of what happens with that many times over. But I had been using meth. I had been hanging around with the wrong people. I had been doing, I use it, and I got involved in a situation where I was at my brother-in-law's, and he had started making meth there, and he got arrested for that or whatever, and then I got charged with that, and then I was in the county jail, and I escaped from the county jail.
Wait,
And,
what? Hold up. Let's go back to escaping from the county jail
when
thing.
I escaped from the county jail, I escaped from the county jail. I took a cop car and I escaped with and left there. At that point, this was 25 years ago.
Okay.
At that point, when I escaped from the jail, I got arrested for that, and I got sent to prison, and I was in prison for about 13 years before I got out. And then what I got when I was out, and you want to know about the parole? Why I got my parole violated, right? For the deal for this?
Yeah.
Okay, I got out, and when I left here, I'd gotten out, and I was living. I got out at the time was during COVID, and I couldn't go. They wouldn't do a house check for my house, so I had to go to an Oxford house, and I was staying there. They still couldn't do a house check, but they had just agreed that I could just live at my house or whatever, and just keep on. I just kept on paying them rent. Well, at this point, my son came back to Omaha he'd been living in Okoboji, him and his girlfriend. And while he was there were various conflicts with him and his mother. He had stolen his mother's car, and one morning he had refused to give her car back. And one morning he's parked behind her house. We end up getting into a big argument over this deal, and I get the keys back to the car, and he calls the police and the parole office and tells them that I assaulted his girlfriend, or I don't know, him and his girl. I'm not sure what he told them, because they came there and they didn't do anything about it, because there were witnesses there that wasn't what he said wasn't exactly what happened. And anyway, I got violated for that. At that point, my parole was violated. She called me and told me that my parole was violated that morning before the police even came.
Okay. And so when you said that's your PO?
Yes. She called and told me to go and turn myself in, which I did not do.
Okay.
I should have done that, but I was trying to get the other deal straightened out. What it comes down to is I screwed up this whole deal by allowing my son to come there in the first place. I should not have done this, because we do not get along. This has happened many times, and that is one of the biggest dumbest mistakes I've ever made was just allowing him to come back there because he was fine where he was at. We had a place up there that he lived in for free, so he could have just stayed there.
Okay. Okay. And,
I knew I was screwing my parole up as soon as that I agreed that he could come there, and I should not have done that.
okay. And that's what more so I was wanting to hear from you to share with us in your own words. You know, what were some of the events that led from the beginning to the transitioning to where you're at today? And in essence, how you feel about it, and you shared that, you know, by the decision and looking to do something differently. Tell me a little bit about what you have learned since being incarcerated.
Well, I took MRT, and I mean, basically, I have a problem communicating with my family. I always have had, and I realize that now. I mean, that's where our problems have mostly come. If I would have, if I would have communicated, if I would have been communicating with my wife at the time about the situation instead of just worrying about what I have going on, I mean, that's a lot of my problem that I've had, and I believe I can communicate a lot better now than I used to. A lot of people don't realize that that causes a lot more problems than you would consider, just not telling people what's going on, not telling people, okay, well, I have a problem. I knew when I agreed to this, I knew right then that I was screwing my parole over when I agreed to him coming there. I knew that. And I should have just said that, and I should have just said no. And yeah, I definitely learned that. I haven't put it in practice so much yet, but yeah, I realize more, at least. I know that I have a problem with communicating with people. I know I have a problem with more jumping off the handle at people instead of just let things build up, instead of just saying from the beginning, no, I don't think this is a good idea. No, I don't think, I should be doing this. No, I don't. I should be, I should control my own life better than I do.
Is managing your emotion a tough thing for you?
It has been, yes. It has been.
It has been?
Yeah.
How do you feel it is if we were to rate it from 0 to 10 today as we speak? What would that number be between 0 to 10?
Probably 2 or 3.
2 or 3?
I definitely can control my emotions better now. I mean, better now than I ever have in my life, I believe, actually.
Okay, all right. So we're improving, but there's room for it to be better.
Yeah, they're definitely.
That's what I'm hearing you say.
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then before I turn it over to my colleagues to ask you further questions, what would you say that you value today that you didn't value with the relationship with your PO, and then just, in terms of knowing that you can communicate and manage your emotions better? What do you value today than you didn't prior to?
Well, I mean, when I got out, it was during COVID, and I really didn't. I mean, that was another. I didn't really communicate with the PO because you just really went in and you just got on a kiosk. I should have said something about my son coming, because that was an issue in the first place. Of coming there, I should. But at this time, you didn't go to see them. You just go in on a kiosk and answer some questions. And so I didn't. But I'm not sure that I would have anyway said anything about it, because lots of times I've always my whole life I have always thought that I know what's best always. You know what I mean? And clearly that's not always the case. Do you see what I'm saying? Because even if I would have actually went and seen a person in person, I don't know that I would have told her anyway about the deal with Kyle coming there, because of the situation. Because I've always thought that I knew better. I know better, but I know that's not true, clearly, or I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
And so hearing that, are there any specific values that you have today that you feel is important to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, my value, I try to do what's right. I try to do what's right by my family. I try to do, but that values, I think the value of just like in that situation, my son wants to come there. I know better, but I still allow him to because, I have values and close family values. I feel like that's my family. I should do what they need to do, but that's not always good. And I mean, it definitely was not good in this situation.
All right.
Well, what I'm gonna do is have my colleagues speak to you, and maybe it will come out more better with one of them. So, my next Jesse.
Yeah.
You have any questions for Mr.?
Yeah, I do. Hello, Mr. Gaines. I'm Jesse. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So, looking at the paperwork side of it, I'm just going to tell you, it's kind of tough. You have a very violent past history. And what I really need to know is what have you done to control your anger since 2098 or whatever to now? What have you done that like, oh, it's time where you notice your physical cues or whatever, if you're getting angry, what can you do for yourself to calm yourself down or to deal with it?
I mean, I've taken an anger management class, and usually, if I'm getting angry at somebody or whatever, the best thing I could do is just to stop talking to them for a while, just give it a break, and come back later. That happens a lot, and if I don't let it get to that point that of screaming and yelling at somebody or whatever, that doesn't work, and I realize that. I used to think that's how I would deal with any type of situation like that. I would just yell, just get into a yelling match or an argument with someone, but I don't. What I try to do, I try to just give it a break. Just give it a break. Don't talk to them for a little while. Just walk away, let it go, and then I come back later and we usually work it out. It's once I walk away and I think about it, it's not nearly as important as it seemed at the moment.
So my next question is, when you got revoked on this violation, were you drinking or using at the time?
No, I've not used drugs since 1999. That's the last time I've used drugs.
Congratulations, that's really good. Really good.
I've not ever used drugs. I've had numerous UA. I've never ever used drugs.
Has there been any history of mental health diagnoses or meds?
No.
Okay. And how do you feel mentally right now?
I feel fine. I'm nervous over this deal, but
yeah, and I get it. It's a natural thing, but we're just asking just the questions that are,
Yeah.
My last question for you: what are you tired of? What are you just absolutely tired of?
Tired of being here. Tired of being here. I got these charges 25 years ago. I have a little over a year to discharge. I'm just tired of this. I just want to make it through to the end of this.
And where are you being placed, or where are you at requesting release to your brother's house?
Yeah, to my brother's house. My brother lives in Nebraska, and my son is not allowed to be there anyway over other issues, and that would be the best thing. My brother's a school person.
And you guys have a good relationship?
Yes, we do. We do.
And what's your guys' arrangement? 6 months? Is it till you get on your feet? What have you guys talked about if it does happen?
I'm gonna stay there until I discharge this number. So.
Okay. Fair enough. I have no more questions, and thank you for the ones you did answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Meredith, do you have any questions for Mr. Gaines?
I just have a couple questions for you, Mr. Gaines. I think we covered just about everything when you were talking to Jesse and James. And I know you kind of like alluded to some of the things that are different this time, but can you just talk us through the things that you've set up for yourself that are going to be different on this release so you don't revoke again?
Well, like I said, I'm going to my brother's, which is I don't, this time right here, I'm gonna go to my brother's. I've already told him I'm gonna stay there till I get out. I've already got it set up. I can get a job. I can go to work where he runs an apartment complex, and I can go to work there. And I'm just gonna take a break from the deal with my family until, you know, we get the thing about it is the son that I have problems with, that I've had problems with this whole time, he's not able to take care of himself. So other people in my family have to take care of him. And it ends up to be this type of a deal, you know, because when I'm around them, I'm around him. So they've had the same type of issues with him also, but they're not on parole. And they all understand that I cannot be around him, you know, and that's just going to be, I want him to get mental health. That's what I want. And eventually, I believe that he's going to get himself into some sort of trouble where he's been checked in a couple times, but they only keep him for 48 hours. So this time, I've made it clear to my family that I'm just, you know, until I'm discharged from this deal here, we're just going to pull it off. And I can't have him around me, and I'm not going to.
That makes sense to me. Thank you for that background. Is that why you're planning to parole to your brother and not like your wife or other family members?
Yeah, my brother lives an hour away, 45 minutes to an hour away from all of our, you know, from them. And like I said, my son's not allowed to go there because of issues that they've had. And yeah, I'm gonna go there. My brother and I will both work the same place, so I'll just ride to work with him. And I'm gonna take a break until I'm off of parole with the whole deal with my family. That's what I want to do.
That makes perfect sense. Is there anything else that you think you need that will help you to be successful?
No, my brother's pretty supportive, and I believe that this should be good. Like I said, I have a little over a year to discharge, and I plan on doing it all there. And I don't see any issues or see any problems.
All right. Well, thank you. Those are the only questions that I have for you.
Thanks.
Okay. Any follow-up? Okay, Mr. Gaines, this is where I told you I would come back to you. You've answered our questions, but maybe you have some other additional information that you would like to share to us before we go into deliberation, to talk before you without you participating, but to talk regarding you to decide what our decision is going to be for today.
Okay. I don't know what else I would have to add. Like I said, I've had this number for 25 years. I have a little over a year to discharge, and in that time, I plan on just, like I said, I'm going to live down in Union. I'm going to live there I'm going to live there at least until I discharge.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I probably will move back to Omaha, but I don't plan on going back to Iowa anyway. So at that point, I should be discharged. When I discharge from over here, then I'll probably go back to live in Omaha. But I'm not even so sure of that. I might just stay down there for a while. But I hope to just be paroled there and be able to get out and start being productive again. I worked a private sector job here, but I got laid off. We're all laid off from there, so I'd like to get out and start working again.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, you go ahead, sit back, and then you'll get a chance to hear us share and communicate in our deliberation, and then I'll come back to you and try to explain it as best I can what that decision outcome is. Okay? Colleagues, anyone wants to go first to discuss Mr. Gaines?
Yeah, I'm gonna support this release. It makes sense to me, and I appreciated the explanation, of what went wrong on his most recent revocation and what he's choosing to do differently and the support that he has with his brother. Um, looking at codes, I see the child endangerment and the manufacturing meth. I know those were, a long time ago, but it's our practice to put that, I don't even know the number, but the limitation on contact with minors without approval. So I'd suggest that. Honestly, it doesn't sound like he has any current substance abuse issues, so I don't even know. I do see DOC recommendation for just an evaluation, so I can put that on there and he can see where he's at. It sounds like he's been maintaining his sobriety for a really long time, but just because of the original charges, that makes sense. Otherwise, we could talk about a 20B, but I don't feel strongly about it, so that's where I'm at with codes.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you, Meredith. Jesse?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with the DOC recommendation. He's been down for 2 years, got a year to go. He has no write-ups. The explanation helped me out as well, what happened on this revocation. I get it as a dad, you're torn between family and doing what you think is right at the time, and somehow it backfired on him. But I have the same codes, the PG D55 with the 40A, 50A, and the 20B. I don't see we need to put on there short time.
Okay, 48, 58. So no 20A and no 20B?
No 20B, I didn't know 20A.
The sergeant.
And I guess this would be a parole out of state too.
Yeah, the 55.
Yeah.
Just the D55, okay.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll take out that too. All right, I'm in agreement with you both, so I'll go ahead and give them our answers. All right, Mr. Gaines, as you had a chance to hear what we discussed, partially, you heard more so from my colleagues instead of me. I'm in agreement with your colleagues. I felt that we collectively understand your position, and as one of my colleagues alluded to and was mentioned, it's tough when you're trying to be family and it's not working out for decisions that you're choosing to make. But with that being said, hearing you state what is important for your well-being, having a relationship with your brother, looking at a different option so that you can avoid any types of things that would jeopardize your release. The planning is important, and so commend you on that part in preparation for your journey. With that being said, we are in agreement with DOC's recommendation. So that is the PG D55 that allows you to go to the state of Nebraska, where you will be able to reside with your brother and work with the offices there. So I'm sure that communication and transition you'll be informed of. The other codes was the 40A. There's just certain provisions that we just have to have in. Yes, we note that you haven't had any substance or any issues with mental health or anything, but we still have to enter the code. And then the 50A, no, like I said, no alcohol to our understanding, but we still put in those provisions just to set that up. So the 50A is for prohibition of alcohol. So we don't want you in any establishment whose primary source of income is alcohol related, especially like liquor stores. But we know that there are restaurants and that have bars, but knowing that we don't want you in those bars that primary source of income is alcohol related, just to, put up the protective guards for your best interests so nothing gets in the way of your ultimate goal, which is to discharge from parole in March of 26 and to navigate through that journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that will conclude, oh, I'm sorry.
The 30A.
Oh, the 30A, sorry, I left that out. The 30A, which is, no direct or indirect contact, with the minor. That would be the last code that would be entered, but after that, are there any questions you may have?
No.
No. Okay, that concludes this interview. Wish you the best.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
And do one more round, okay?
One. Thanks, Chelsea. We're gonna take.
Yeah, I need to go to the bathroom too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Chelsea. I'm Jesse. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. Is there anything new for Mr. Killer, Rico Killer?
Not that I'm aware of. Logan said the recommendation was still for solar development, and there
Okay.
hasn't been anything new recently.
Sounds good. Colleagues, do you have any questions?
I know.
All right. You go ahead and bring him in.
And introduce yourself, a name and number, make sure you speak up so we can hear you.
Hello, good morning. Please state your name and give me your state number too.
My name's Rico Killer, and my state number is 6524224.
Thank you, Mr. Killer. I'm gonna kind of explain the process to you, okay?
Okay.
So, my name is Jesse Rincon. My colleagues today is Meredith Lamberti and James Moses will be conducting your interview today. Just to let you know that this interview is considered a public forum, meaning that the public and the media can listen in, but they can't participate. We can possibly discuss confidential information such as your mental health, substance abuse, and medical history. Do you understand this, and are you willing to proceed?
Yes.
Okay. So how this works is I'll get started off by asking you to describe the crime in detail. What was going on at the time of your life that brought you back to prison? After we completed our questions, I'll ask you if you have anything for the board that you would like us to know or that you've prepared. Once I give you that time, we're going to go into what's called deliberation, meaning we're going to make a decision. At that time, just sit back and listen. Once we made our decision, I'll come back to you and explain the best I can, okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's get started and just describe to me the crime or the incident that happened with some detail, but briefly, so we understand what was going on in your life at that time. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I was in, was it willful injury? I was pretty much at the wrong place, wrong time kind of scenario. I was under the influence of alcohol, and one thing led to another, and I assaulted my victim.
So describe what happened when one thing led to another. Give me the details.
Me and him had some altercations throughout like weeks prior to it, and he came. I was outside, and he came out to argue with me and what I wanted to do, have an altercation with me, and like I said, one thing led to another, and we ended up getting into it, and I ended up assaulting him with a box cutter.
Did you always carry a box cutter on you?
Yes.
Why?
Because I was homeless at the time, and a lot of people like to harass those homeless people.
What motivated you to commit this crime? I mean, to use a box cutter on somebody, why was you so angry that it went to that far?
Honestly, I just kind of figured he was like a little bit bigger than me, and I kind of thought he would probably end up hurting me a lot worse than what I probably would have done. So,
what are your thoughts about what you did?
it was wrong, and that I shouldn't have done that, and I shouldn't have been where I was at. Should have just.
Have you ever assaulted or threatened anybody with a box cutter before?
No, sir.
Have you ever committed assault before in your history?
Yes.
So what do you think leads you to being assaulted rather than trying to communicate or walking away? What do you think the past problems were?
Alcohol.
So would you say that you were an alcoholic or
Yes,
are?
sir. Yes,
And,
sir.
and at the peak of your drinking, how much were you drinking per day?
Like a gallon of vodka.
A gallon a day?
Yeah.
And how much sobriety time do you have?
Counting being in here, or
Yeah, if this is the longest period, that's fine.
yeah, almost 2 years.
How do you feel?
I feel great. I feel like I could go out there and accomplish more in my life since I've been in here.
And what are your thoughts about alcohol today?
That it's pretty much caused me to be away from my kid and my wife, and just I kind of use alcohol for a coping mechanism, and yeah, I kind of got carried away.
So what do you now use for your coping mechanisms?
Working out, going to AA, going to the sweat lodge, and since I got my high sit in here, I've been thinking about going back to school for culinary arts.
That's good. Congratulations on your eyes. That's a lot of work. Good job. My last question for you is, what's your biggest strength and what's your biggest weakness?
I think my biggest weakness is pretty much a loner. I ain't really good with my words. And my biggest strength is when I'm actual sober, I could work and hold down a job and just pay my bills.
Let me ask you a question though. I have one more. Who do you like better, the sober you or the intoxicated you?
The sober me.
Why?
Because I'm more clear-headed and I think about more of my goals and my future than when I'm drinking my intoxicated self, because that's just when I'm pretty much depressed.
Thank you very much for answering the questions I have. I'm going to hand it over to my colleagues. I'm going to hand it over to James first.
Actually, he answered questions that I had, so I'm going to turn it over back to you.
Thank you, Meredith.
I actually don't have any other questions either. I think we've covered everything I wanted to talk about.
Well, sir, they have no questions for you. So this is the time, if you have something you want the board to know or prepared, you got the floor at this time.
I don't really have anything, sir.
Nothing more to add? Okay, no problem. So then what I'm going to ask you to do is just sit back and listen. We're going to go into deliberation, meaning we're going to make a decision. And then once we're done, I'll come back to you and explain the decision, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Colleagues?
I'm going to support this parole plan. I think it's a good place for him that can help him, achieve his goals. I appreciate the explanation he gave about his history with alcohol and, what was going on that led to this assault and this stabbing. And with the TDD coming up in March, I think it makes sense to get him out there and get him on some supervision and working toward, employment, future steady housing, which sounds like that's going to be key to, and then also maintaining his sobriety. So I'd be looking at that parole with the 10C to Soulward, and then 40A for substance abuse and a 50A.
Thank you. James?
As my colleague just stated so eloquently, I am with all the codes that she stated. I actually like the interview. I like the transparency for Mr. Ford Killer. I thought he recognized where he went wrong. He shared with you about knowing that if he stays sober, he's a better him. He knows his work ethic in terms of liking to work, has no issues and no problems with work. Although he did state his weakness was, words, rhetoric, and, but I think he can communicate because he very well communicated with us and being transparent and taking accountability for what he recognized that will help him to be better. Therefore, I'm in agreement with DOC's recommendation with the PG, D3. The 10s is a 10C for the sober living home at Soulward Development, which is city. The 40A with substance abuse, and the 50A for prohibition of alcohol.
Thank you. I too am in agreement with the DOC recommendation. I'm going to explain to Mr. Forkiller right now. Mr. Forkiller, you've heard us deliberate. We are all in agreement with your release. Your main focus needs to really be sobriety. I think you'll have a heck of a good chance if you just really capture that demon and not go back to the alcohol use. You say you feel better. I think with the time that you got with sobriety under your belt, if you ever do go back, it's going to be because of the choice you made, not because of urges or you know, the power of that alcohol. So make good choices is what I want to say. I'm going to explain the codes. You'll be having a PGD3 means you'll be paroling. 10C code is because you're going to soul word. The 40A is we want you to get a substance abuse evaluation. And the 50A, we don't want you to mess with any alcohol, period. No liquor stores, no bars. And just keep that in mind, no alcohol, period, okay? We don't want you to drink it or be around it or you're going to entice yourself with it. You understand that? And do you have any questions? Do you understand that, sir? Okay, good. That will conclude this interview, and thank you for a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chelsea.
Yeah, thank you. See you next
Hey,
month.
have a good one.